Thank you, Chairman McDermott and Ranking Member Linder and members of the committee for inviting me here to testify to you today. We have record high long-term unemployment because there simply aren't enough jobs to go around. The economy has been growing for 3 quarters now, but businesses have not yet begun to ramp up hiring. There are nearly 5 workers seeking every job opening available, compared to a ratio of about 1.5 to 1 before the Great Recession began. Long-term unemployment creates significant hardships for individual families, and it also threatens our nascent economic recovery. The long-term unemployed can't spend what they don't earn, and spending is what keeps our economy humming. Consumer spending is, of course, further constrained due to the collapse of the housing bubble and the fact that families were highly leveraged before the Great Recession began. There's some key principles that I urge you to keep in mind when you're developing policies to help the long-term unemployed. First, we need to acknowledge that there's a new face of the long-term unemployed who have different problems from workers in prior recessions. The Great Recession is, of course, the first major recession where the typical family is a dual-earner household. More often than not, out there in America today, the situation is that he's lost his job, but it's not coming back soon in their community, but she still has hers. So it's now a classic, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. Does he keep looking for work in their local economy, or does she quit her job and they move and both search for work? But of course, families are less mobile overall because of the increase in homeowners who are underwater on their mortgages. Last year, geographic mobility fell to historic lows, although it's bounced back up slightly in 2009. To address these policies, Congress should focus on 3 policy goals. First, we need to stop adding to the problem of unemployment. Second, we need to help the long-term unemployed beat the odds and find work. And third, for the other folks in the unemployment queue for whom a job is not available, we need to fund national jobs programs. To stop the flow of workers into unemployment, Congress should seek to expand the work-sharing programs, the kind that have kept unemployment from rising in Germany, even though their output has fallen more so than in the United States. The unemployment system has a short-time compensation program that Congress could encourage the expansion of. Congress should also have the temerity to keep recovery dollars flowing until the recovery actually takes hold. We should be looking into fixing the unemployment insurance system in a variety of ways, but one of them should also include making sure that we don't cut off benefits before local economies recover, such as using a state-by-state off-trigger rather than a national cutoff date. We must also maintain benefits to budget-constrained states and localities that are, as we speak, adding to our unemployment woes by laying off teachers and police officers. To help the unemployed find work, policymakers should look to improve our employment services, address the challenges of the collapse of the housing bubble for those who need to move for work, and support workers who may need to take lower-paying jobs in the interim. But to help those for whom jobs are simply not available, Congress should consider the need to create and expand job programs, including those outlined in the Jobs for America Act, as well as increasing funds for our national service programs, summer youth jobs program, and continuing the TANF emergency funds that are putting people to work in partnership with private employers. I want to stress that helping the long-term unemployed is not just about doing right by America's families, although that is certainly important. And I'd like to add that we too have heard from many of those same long-term unemployed folks after you made the announcement for this hearing, and those stories are really quite troubling. Getting the long-term unemployed back to work is critical for our economy and for the general welfare of our nation. And the public agrees. An overwhelming 74% of Americans agree with the statement, quote, "With unemployment close to 10% and millions still out of work, it is too early to start cutting back benefits and health coverage for workers who lose their jobs." That's from a poll that just came out this week. More so than at any point in the decades since the end of World War II, the challenge of laying the foundation for a strong economy lies with you and this body of government. It continues to be the case that fiscal policy is the primary lever that the federal government has at its disposal to spur economic growth, unlike in prior recessions where there was more room for monetary policy. These extraordinary times do call for continued extraordinary action. As Council of Economic Advisors Chair Christina Romer said just last month, quote, "It would be penny-wise but pound-foolish to try to deal with our long-run problem by tightening fiscal policy immediately or foregoing additional emergency spending to reduce unemployment," end quote. Cutting back now will certainly dampen the nascent economic recovery. This deficit debate is often portrayed as having the goal of saving today's young workers from future debt. But as my written testimony goes into, these very same workers, if left to flounder in a high unemployment economy, are likely to see decades of lower earnings, a legacy that we certainly should not leave them.